If you're dealing with a sluggish, heavy feeling after meals, that tiredness that arrives when energy should, there is a three-part kitchen routine that older generations used without thinking twice about it. They did not call it a liver routine. They did not order it from a supplement company. They just knew the order. The problem is not the ingredients. Most people already have them. The problem is the preparation, the timing, and one mistake almost everyone makes before they even eat the first meal of the day. I am going to show you exactly what that mistake is and what the correct method looks like. You probably know that feeling. You eat a reasonable meal, nothing wild, nothing excessive. And instead of feeling satisfied and light, you feel heavy, slow. The afternoon becomes something to get through rather than something to enjoy. Some people describe it as a fog that settles in after lunch. Others notice it as a kind of pressure just below the ribs on the right side that they cannot quite explain. It is not pain, it is just weight. It is not pain, it is just weight. And no matter how many glasses of water you drink or how many products you buy, the feeling keeps coming back. That is the experience a lot of people associate now with what happens when the liver is working harder than it should. Not dramatically, not dangerously, just sluggishly. The way an overloaded kitchen drain slows down before it stops completely. The remedy is not dramatic either. It is a lemon. It is a jar of roasted dandelion root that you can find in most health food shops. It is a small plate of bitter leaves before the main meal. 3 things: simple, inexpensive, ordinary. And almost nobody uses them in the right order, at the right time, in the right way. The morning is where it starts. Specifically, the very first thing you put into your body in the morning. And I am willing to guess you are doing it slightly wrong. Warm lemon water. You have heard of it. Maybe you have even tried it. And maybe, like most people, you boiled the kettle, squeezed half a lemon into the mug while the water was still bubbling hot, drank it quickly before breakfast, and thought, well, that was fine, nothing remarkable. And then you stopped doing it after a week. Here is where the method breaks down. The water cannot be boiling. This is the detail people skip entirely. The temperature matters. You want the water warm, genuinely warm, the way you would test a baby's bath, comfortable against the inside of your wrist. Boiling water changes the sensory experience completely and is simply too aggressive for the first thing your stomach receives in the morning. The second detail, timing. You drink it slowly before food, and you leave at least 15 to 20 minutes before eating anything else. Not alongside breakfast, not after breakfast, before. The ritual is a preparation, not an afterthought. The stomach needs a signal that food is coming, not a flood, just a gentle, warm wave. That is what the old morning glass was always doing. It was not a weight loss trick. It was simply how mornings used to begin in households that understood the sequence mattered. Save this so you remember the order. The sequence is the whole point, now. The lemon water is only the first part, and this is where most people stop. They do the lemon water, feel vaguely virtuous, and then forget the other 2 entirely. The second part is the one that almost nobody does anymore, because bitterness has been nearly eliminated from the modern diet. Bitter greens, dandelion leaves, chicory, endive, not mixed into a salad bowl after the pasta arrives, not scattered decoratively around a plate, eaten before the main meal, alone, simply dressed with olive oil and a few drops of lemon, a small plate, that is all. In older European households, particularly Mediterranean and Central European kitchens, the bitter leaf course came first. It was not a health decision. It was a dinner structure. The bitter taste was understood to prepare the digestive system. It was a signal, the same way the lemon water was a signal. The body does not respond well to receiving a heavy meal with no introduction. The old kitchens knew this. They just called it the way you started eating, not a wellness practice. Modern salad greens have had most of their bitterness bred away. We wanted sweet, we wanted mild, and in doing that, we quietly lost something useful. Dandelion leaves still have that edge. Chicory is sharp and slightly earthy. Endive has a clean, mild bitterness that is easy to get used to. These are not difficult or expensive to find, but the most important thing, the detail that changes the whole effect, is that they must come before the meal, not alongside it. I know that sounds like a small thing, but keep this in mind for a moment because it becomes the key to understanding why the whole routine works the way it does. The third part comes after the heaviest meal of the day. A cup of roasted dandelion root tea. Not dandelion leaf tea, the root. The roasted version specifically. It looks like dark brown granules, almost like coarsely ground coffee, and when you spoon it into a small infuser and let the hot water move through it, the color that comes out is a deep amber, almost mahogany. The smell is earthy, rich, softer than coffee but in the same family of smells. Warm and slightly woody and grounding in a way that feels right for the middle of the afternoon or the early evening. My grandmother kept something that smelled exactly like this on her pantry shelf. She called it her after-dinner tea. I did not understand it as a child. I do now. The mistake people make with this tea is steeping it too briefly. A quick 2-minute steep gives you colored water. You need at least 8 minutes. The bitterness that makes this tea useful takes time to come out of the root. Cover the mug while it steeps so the temperature holds. Sip it slowly. It is not unpleasant. Once you expect the bitterness, it becomes almost satisfying in the way strong things are satisfying. This is where I want to tell you about one more thing. An addition that most people skip, even people who know about dandelion root and turmeric and traditional kitchen routines. It is the kind of detail that looks insignificant and changes everything. If you add a small pinch of turmeric to the dandelion root tea, a pinch, not a spoonful, you are doing what older South Asian and Ayurvedic kitchens did routinely. But here is the part nobody tells you. The turmeric on its own, stirred into hot water and swallowed, does very little that you would notice. The old method always paired it with something, a tiny drop of olive oil or a single grind of black pepper. That pairing is the preparation detail that most modern golden latte mixes and turmeric supplements skip entirely. The combination changes how the body receives it. That is why stirring turmeric into plain water alone often leaves people thinking it did nothing. Watch the color shift when you add the pinch. The amber tea deepens. The smell changes, warmer, slightly peppery if you add the grind. It is a small kitchen moment that feels almost ceremonial, and once you have made it this way, the plain version feels incomplete. Now, here is the detail I saved for last, because this is the one that reframes everything. The 3 parts of this routine share a single underlying idea. Prepare the body before you ask it to work. The lemon water arrives before food. The bitter greens arrive before the main course. The dandelion tea arrives after the heaviest meal, to close the digestive window gently rather than leave it open and labored. It is one idea, repeated 3 times across the day, not a detox, not a 3-day miracle, a sequence. And the sequence is older than any supplement on the market. It survived because it was built around the natural timing of how the body moves through a day, opening in the morning, working at midday, settling in the evening. When people say they tried these things and felt nothing, I always want to ask the same question. Did you do them in order? Because the lemon water after breakfast does not do the same thing. The bitter greens as a side salad do not carry the same signal. The dandelion tea sipped too briefly in boiling water with nothing to support the turmeric. That is a very different cup than what older kitchens prepared. The ingredient is not the secret. It never was. Somewhere along the way, we stopped structuring meals with intention. We stopped beginning the morning with something gentle. We stopped putting bitterness at the start of the table. And then we started spending money on products that promised the same things these kitchen objects had been quietly doing for generations. The dandelion that grows along the garden edge, the one that gets pulled out and thrown away, used to be gathered in spring and brought inside. The roasted root sat on the pantry shelf in a small labeled jar. The lemon sat beside the kettle. Ordinary objects, ordinary morning, done in the right order. If your family had a version of this, something your mother or grandmother prepared before meals or first thing in the morning, tell me in the comments. I read everyone. The old routines deserve to be remembered, and the people who kept them deserve to have their knowledge passed on. A small jar of roasted dandelion root on the shelf, a halved lemon beside the kettle, a few dark, bitter leaves on a saucer before dinner arrives. That is where it begins.